My name is Treva Posey-Edmonds, Treva Posey-Edmonds. Right here in Greeneville, Greene County. My mother was Minnie Lee Charles. My father was John Henry Posey. Of course, she's Minnie Lee Posey, but her maiden name was Charles. No, she was from Hawkins County, over in Rogersville. He was from Georgia. He was from Atlanta, as much as we know, around Atlanta, Georgia, according to his Social Security card. My mother is buried out at Green Lawn, and my father's buried up at George Clem, up at Wesley Cemetery. My father worked at the Austin Company. You know, tobacco was a big deal back then. I only know so much about him because he died when she was 7 months pregnant with me. So I never did ever see him. I never did ever meet him. And my mother did domestic work. She worked in somebody's house, you know, cleaning and cooking and those kinds of things. Apparently he was a character. He liked to clown and joke and carry on. As a matter of fact, when he got sick, his bowels locked, and he fell in the floor, on the tobacco floor, and was writhing in pain, and they thought he was clowning. And by the time they realized he wasn't and got him to the hospital and they opened him up, he poisoned his whole system. And I've just heard stories about him, how he loved to sing. He was a deacon in the church, the Friendship Baptist Church, for a long time, but a big flirt and cut up. So those are all the stories I hear about him, just that he was quite a cut up. My oldest sister was Helen Warree Whiteside. My mother was married twice. And my brother was James Clarence Whiteside. Then when he died, when she remarried my daddy, my brother is Henry Ronald Posey, and my sister was Stephania Dawn Posey, and I'm Treva Kate Posey. He was James Clarence Whiteside. He was from over in North Carolina somewhere. So we know very little. I know very little about him. So I just know his name, because he was long gone before I came along. I started when I was 5 because Mom didn't have anybody to babysit. So they did that back then. So there was no kindergarten. So probably most of us started when we was 5. There's a lot of George Clem people in here. Life at George Clem was all we knew. We thought it was great. We found out probably a little bit afterwards that we wasn't as great as we thought it was, but that's what we knew. And so we were all friends. We all grew up together, you know, and our mothers pretty much did the same things, because that's what mothers did back in the 50s. And those of us that had daddies, you know, they had, like I didn't have one, but the ones that did, they worked, you know, to support. I can't say too much about what other daddies did, because I knew their children. You know, when back then, if people were having an adult conversation, your children didn't sit around and listen to it so they could form opinions. They would say, "This is an adult conversation, you out of here." And that way we didn't have so much to say when grown people were talking, because we didn't know what they talked about. Oh, Lord, classmates at George Clem. Okay, we were just little thugs sometimes. We had little gangs and whatnot. I had a little gang. Probably was a bully because I was tall and skinny and didn't have very much hair. I still got the tall and not much hair part. The skinny kind of moved on out. And it was a rough time back then. You know, I've been listening to a little bits of other people's stories, and we were right in the middle of Jim Crow. We grew up in it, you know. In this area, it wasn't as bad as it was in some of the southern states that really, you know, people got hung and stuff. But it's because we accepted our place. We knew there were things we couldn't do, and we just didn't do them. And our parents made sure we didn't do them, you know. You go over there, something bad's gonna happen. So they didn't let you and you didn't do it. Not so much as people that just went out and did what they wanted to. We were we were afraid of our parents. So, it was rough, but we didn't know it because that was the way it was. That was the world in that day. And we all had Jim Crow issues. Our issues in this part of the country where we couldn't go to the movies. We couldn't go sit in a restaurant, But nobody was getting hung and, that kind of stuff. So, well, yeah. Well, someplace you weren't allowed to go. But that's mostly, like I said, that's mostly the restaurants. We could go to the movies, but we couldn't sit where we wanted to. One of our teachers, I think Ella said she used to take up money, but we went in a little side door and we went upstairs to the balcony, And now I think the kids want to sit in the balcony because they can see better down at the Capitol. But we had to do that. And if we needed to go to the bathroom, we had to go out and go across the street to the jailhouse where the drunks were. That's where they just used the bathroom all day long, and nobody ever cleaned it. But that's where we had to go, So, it would make my brothers so mad because Mama would make them take my sister and me to the movies with them, and then invariably I had to go to the bathroom, and so I absolutely hated it. George Clem, everything that they had for me to do. I brought some pictures when we had a little rhythm band. I might have been in the first grade, but I was in the picture, my sister and my two brothers. We were just all lined up in those little homemade costumes made out of cheesecloth and crepe paper. They were just homemade, but they were cute. We didn't really have a band, but Miss Grace Bradley saw to us that we thought we had a band. Yeah, we didn't have any instruments, maybe a drum or two, no horns, nothing like that. But we would march from George Clem. We'd march to the stadium. We'd march downtown somewhere. You see, you're talking 55 years, and as my mother says, I've slept since then. So a few things might escape me, but we had a little band, and we were proud. We were proud of our little band. Miss Grace made us think we could do anything, so, and we didn't know any better but what we couldn't. George Clem, I remember, my girlfriend tells me that one of the teachers pinched me in the third grade. If she does this, she'll probably... She did. And she said I smacked her. I might have, because I was mean. I was the baby. I had two big brothers and two older sisters. And, you just can't take with so much stuff. You have to fight back. So we learned to fight back. But we had a good time. We had a good time going. We had friends, Ronnie Arnold and biggest fools. I mean, just some of these guys he was as funny as Richard Pryor ever tried to be. We had dances. We had sock hops in the hallway upstairs, We didn't get to, I didn't get to go hula dances, Ella said. We'd have dances after the ball games and stuff, upstairs. And back then, when ball teams came to play, they would feed them at the school. They would feed our boys and feed, I guess, the girls too. I don't remember, because we had a basketball team. Back then, we only played half court. So it wasn't nearly as exciting as the boys' games. Always Kingsport, Johnson City, Elizabeth, Rogersville. We mainly looked forward to meeting the boys. We were cheerleaders. Some of us were cheerleaders, and back then meeting boys meant you got his address and you wrote letters. You never did get to go nowhere with him. You didn't have no way. No, you couldn't call him. You didn't have no way. He didn't have no way to get to where you were, and vice versa. So you just wrote letters until you didn't. They were all my favorites. I was popular. If there was a team, I had a boyfriend. Simple as that. I was a guard, so I didn't have to jump up and get the ball and throw it back to Rosemary because she could shoot. So, and I could do that. I could do that because I was tall. Life took me right here. The choices that you make when you're in high school, they follow you the rest of your life. So when I got out of high school in 64, I got married in 64, first baby 65, second baby 66, but by then I knew what was caused them, and I put a stop to it. His name was Lonnie Gudger. He was the captain of the football team. Well, that's about as good as you could get. And the basketball team, too, part of the time. Old high school romances. That life was good. He went on to Vietnam, and I was here working. I went to New Jersey for a minute to get, he was in the Navy, so I had to go up there to get papers, paperwork, so I could draw, and take care of my baby and stuff. So, but I came back here when he came home on leave one year, and the baby was 7 months old. And then before I knew it, there was another one coming. That's when I learned out what was causing all that. So, when he got out, then we set up housekeeping. No, he volunteered, but he might as well. I know now that had he not volunteered, he still would have been drafted. Mm-hmm. Lonnie Gudger Jr. and Dewana Renee Gudger. Lonnie teaches band over at middle school. He's assistant band director at middle school. And Dewana lives in Trenton, New Jersey. She works for the state up there. I was sure the little girl over there, she's from New Jersey. So she knows where all these places are. And I have a sister in Pleasantville. She knows where all that is. So we've had a nice conversation. Well, when my husband came back from the Navy, then I took a secretarial course. Well, at first I went to work at metals engineering, and I started cutting off body parts because it was a very dangerous place to work. He was in my class. We built bomb casings and used those big machines that come down and presses that cut metal, And so my machine I was using, you had to hit the thing and it would, one piece would file for another because it had oil holding them together. It was lead. And then you just slide it under this big press and it would come down, and cut the thing. And when I hit it, it slid off and cut the very top of my foot. At 20-some stitches inside and 20-some on the outside. So I decided then it's probably time for me to do something else. So I went to secretarial school. Down to vocational school, as a matter of fact. I just ran across that certificate and that stuff I was scanning in over there. So that, and did that. And then I went to work at Magnavox in the advertising department when I finished doing that. So that was exciting. And I worked at Magnavox maybe two and a half years. And one of my friends called me from what was TRW. It was a new plant here. And she said, "You need to get over here because they don't have any blacks." So literally, she was a white girl in the office. And she had worked at Magnavox with me. And so I went over and put in an application and started working there in 73. And I retired from there in 2009 after 36 years. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, I guess probably the fact that the Lord blessed me to be able to play the piano, and I took music lessons even when I was in high school. And I could play by music and by ear, and so I've been at the piano since I was 12. And in that time, I've grown weary of it now because I'm 72, but during that time, I brought a lot of enjoyment to a lot of people. I've worked with several decades of children, 4 or 5 of them even. Even the preacher talks about a little song he sang when he was just little in his little red robe, and I wasn't but a few years older than he was, you know. But I guess when I think about it, and I tell my husband a lot of time, I don't really think about it because that's just what I did, you know. That's been a blessing to me and something that I could do that brought other people joy that nobody can take away from me. So I've got a lot of things that are really important to me, but I guess really the main thing would be the talent the Lord gave me that I've been able to share with other people. My mother gave all the girls, my older sisters, piano lessons. We all took piano lessons. I just liked it better than the rest, and see, if you wasn't practicing the piano, you was either cleaning or washing dishes or cooking or something. So I made sure I was practicing till all that was done. And so that way I got in several hours of practice, but I liked it better than the other girls did. My oldest sister played some. She even played some for the church. The middle girl was so timid till, you imagine? She's horrified, just absolutely horrified. And today, because I like to carry on and show off, I loved it. You know, it was fine with me. So. He went to work. He went to work the same place I did, cut off a finger. Then he decided he better go do something else. So he went to work for the post office. So when he went to work for the post office, I went to work for TRW. We had a good life. Oh, my second husband, I really didn't think that much about him. He lived with my mother when he got out of college. To me, he was a kid, you know, just a kid. And I used to aggravate him and stuff just because I could. And come to find out years later, I'm just a year and a few months older than him. But at the time, because I had grown up so fast, and then, you know, he used to babysit with my children, you know, that kind of thing. So life has a way of working its way around, you know, to whatever the Lord has in store for you. Oh, it's just been interesting. It's interesting. He's a country boy from Georgia, and they talk funny and they have strange ideas about things, but basically he's a good person. He's basically a good person. He's a good husband. He's a good husband. He's a little off track every now and again, but you just whip him on back in. Mm-hmm.